Hello everybody, welcome to this edition of Miss J's Geek Corner. Let's be talking about anything and everything that is geek, whether it be TV, comics, movies, or video games. And as y'all well know, my number one favorite superhero, if not number one favorite superhero, and number one fictional character ever is, of course, Superman. I mean, just look behind me. I mean, the whole, and my Superman has always been a favorite of mine for over the years. I mean, just a real. I mean, ever since I was 3, Superman has been my number one favorite superhero, and everybody always talks about one of the complaints about everybody from a lot of folks that ain't particular Superman fans is, Superman is he's born because he's too powerful. Why is that? I mean, why is it just because he's so powerful makes him so boring? I mean, you got to give him, if he's that powerful, you got to make somebody more powerful than him so he can overcome it, just to show how great a hero he is. I mean, you got to constantly make challenges for your superhero, no matter how powerful he gets. You got to make challenges for him. And on several occasions, talk about how powerful he is, about he's so powerful. There have been moments in comic book history that he has actually, to me, become the most powerful character and the most powerful being in not just the universe, DC universe, but the entire DC multiverse. And not to mention, on several occasions, most powerful being in 2 universes. So, it got me to thinking about all those moments that he has just showed his undisputed, showed why he is called Superman. Not just because he's a hero here, but because he is so powerful, and why he is called Superman. And I put together a list of the top 10 moments in which Superman was the most powerful being in the multiverse, I guess you could say, in any universe. And number 10, let's start off with number 10, is the moment that Kingdom Come Superman showed how powerful he is, and that he punched a lightning bolt. And I know that sounds very big. This was in the y'all read this. This is in the Justice Society of America story, Thy Kingdom Come. It's like the sequel to Kingdom Come, in which the Kingdom Come Superman comes to, there's a portal that was made by Starman, and he falls over from the Kingdom Come universe. The Kingdom Come universe, Superman falls over from his universe into the New Earth universe, the pre-New 52 universe, the classic universe. He falls over in that universe, and he thinks his universe is completely and totally been obliterated, and there's nothing to go back to, so he starts making his home on New Earth. And of course, he's coming at odds with Superman a little bit and everything. And it was one of the best, if not the best, Justice Society of America story I've ever read. I mean, it's just so cool seeing 2 Supermen reside in one universe. And being Kingdom Come is one of my favorite versions of Superman anyway. It was just a delight to read. It was just a really good story. It was really good. And one part of the story is that the real Gog, the character Gog, was running around. The guy was running around claiming to be God, the real Gog, and what it was, he was abusing the powers that were given to him by the real Gog, which turns out to be a god from the one of the old gods from the old from the world in which New Genesis and Apocalypse separated from. Now, he was a character from that world, and he fell to Earth, and part of him fell to Earth, and basically all that survived of him was his head, and he basically returned, and he made a character that was destroyed, that was killed, took a character that was killed, and made him into Magog, the character from Kingdom Come, who basically resulted in did a few reckless actions that resulted in the destruction of Kansas in the Kingdom Come universe. Well, now he's basically come to being in this universe as like the Herald of Gog, and basically he was trying to make the Flash Jay Garrick into another one, almost trying to make him into what the Kingdom Come Flash was. He was trying to make him into the Kingdom Come Flash essentially, and he was basically almost phasing out of existence. And when he was blasting with energy and turned him into that, one of the bolt and during that one of the bolts he fired at him was intercepted by the Kingdom Come Superman, who just punched it out of the way. And then just asked him. He said, and then another one of the guys asked him. I forgot who it was. Another team member asked him, "Did you just punch a bolt of lightning?" He just ever so nonchalant, like it was no big deal. He said, "Yes." And I mean, that just shows you how not only how powerful it is, how much he don't even have to think about doing it. Just how powerful he is, but how he don't even really think about what he's doing. I mean, he thinks about it, but he just don't ever think about what he's doing. It's not anything incredible. He's just thinking he's used to it. I mean, the way he said, "Did you just punch a bolt of lightning?" He just almost like nonchalant said, "Yes," like it wasn't no big deal that he just punched a bolt of lightning. I mean, it just shows you how powerful he is. I mean, he's right up there with the Earth 2 Superman. He's right there with Earth 2 Superman, and just one punch can stop something. I mean, by the end of the issue, he takes essentially the only natural part of Gog that's left, which is his head, takes him out to the source wall with his bare hands and shoves him into the source wall, where essentially he belongs with all the other old gods from the third world. Now reside within the source wall. It just shows you how powerful he is, and how powerful that version of Superman is. In fact, he can punch energy bolts and it not even faze him. And in fact, he can do all that. I mean, it's just what makes him super, and that's why he come in at number 10 on my list. And number 9 on my list is another version of Superman that a lot of people like, and a lot of people really don't like because of what he become, and that's Superboy Prime. Now, I know, why is he on this list? Well, he is a version of Superman. He's the Superman of Earth Prime, not Prime Earth, the New 52 Earth Prime, in which is kind of like, you might as well say, the real world. And like, he's the only superhero there. And of course, y'all know he wound up eschewed by what Alex Luthor told him, and just tormenting him for so long and everything. He just was he just wanted his own, he wanted to go home. He's just a little kid, scared kid that wanted to go home, and basically just had his brain warped by Alex Luthor. And his one first definite show of power, which wasn't in, I don't believe in Crisis on Infinite Earths. His first real show of power is when he punched a hole in reality itself. I mean, they were in like this little limbo type place, this little reality place where they could just live on their own. He punched a hole in reality and basically altered a bunch of events, like and just essentially just altered a bunch of events in DC history. Like the fact that, like, one major thing is that Jason Todd didn't stay dead. He punched reality, and it brought Jason Todd back to life, who had to scratch and claw his way out of his own grave. And you ended up with Jason Todd as he is now. And then, of course, he punched a hole in reality, and it leads into the events that led into Infinite Crisis in the first place. And it just shows how powerful he is, and that he goes out into the sun, and he has all the powers of the pre-crisis Superman. I mean, he could move worlds with his bare hands. He could fly through space. He could move planets and moons with his bare hands. I mean, he could do anything super powerful. And the fact that he tore through the Titans like tearing through paper, and that shows you right there how powerful he is. I mean, he was more powerful. I mean, he even gives Superman a run for his money. The New Earth regular Superman a run for his money. He was even getting Earth 2 Superman trouble. the same man who punched out Anti-Monitor that destroyed Anti-Monitor with a single punch, Prime was giving him trouble. And the only way they stopped Prime from just destroying the Teen Titans is they forced him into the Speed Force. But he still got out. He came back out fashioned in an armor in the likeness of the Anti-Monitor. And essentially what it did is it harnessed solar radiation right straight into his cells and made him even stronger. And the fact that he had enough nerve to stare Black Adam in the eye, look him in the eye after all them magical attacks, turn around, look him in the eye and laugh at him and say, "That tickles," and start wailing on him. I think I'm going to go back and read it again, but the fact he look him right in the eye and say it tickles, that's saying something. And also I left out the fact that he broke out, they used a Phantom Zone arrow on him, and he broke out of there too. Put him in the Phantom Zone, and he busted out of there too. And in fact, by the end of the book, they had to fly him through Superman and Earth 2 Superman had to fly him through the heart of a red sun just to destroy his armor and depower him. But he was still strong enough. He beat Earth 2 Superman to death, which I didn't like very much because Earth 2 being my favorite version of Superman. But he beat him to death with his own bare hands. He was still strong enough that he did that, even after flying through a red sun. He completely depowered Superman for the space of a year. But he was still strong enough. He beat the life out of Earth 2 Superman, and that's really saying something right there. But of course, he wound up escaping, and during the Sinestro Corps War, he wound up joining the Sinestro Corps. But he eventually even turned on them. I mean, he about killed Sodom Yat, which had been made Ion. Basically like the Green Lantern of Green Lanterns. He nearly killed him. He killed Connor Kent in Infinite Crisis. Superboy. He killed Connor Kent, Superboy in Infinite Crisis, and then essentially he killed one of the Guardians during Sinestro Corps War, and it catapulted him into not only did it catapult him into the multiverse, but it also powered him up and grew him up to adult size, essentially turning him from Superboy Prime into Superman Prime for a while. And when that happened, he donned a black costume similar to Superman's regeneration suit from Reign of Superman, and went on a rampage throughout the multiverse. He went to Earth 15, killed that world's Superman and his wife and unborn child, and his fortress, flew Lex Luthor into the atmosphere and burned him to a crisp, destroyed the Watchtower, annihilated the Justice League of that Earth, killed Batman the same way he killed Lex Luthor in that universe, then flew straight through the center of Earth 15 and blew it up, which is another one of the powers that pre-Crisis Superman could do. He could essentially ram through Earth and blow and destroy it. And that's what he did. And then later on that wasn't the end of it either. I mean, later on he blew up. He tore into the Source Wall, of all places, the Source Wall, and he tore into the Source Wall. Burnt an air shield into Mixia Spitlick's face, and just beat the flying mess out of him. Just whooped him. And then I think he eventually ended up destroying the Source. I think that was the Earth 15 Source Wall. I think he wound up destroying the Source Wall of that universe. And pretty much that was the story of the last time. I think that was about the last time you ever saw Mxyzptlk before Final Crisis. That was the last time you ever saw Mxyzptlk in the DC universe until the New 52 started. Of course, I don't even know if he's in that one yet. But that's the last time you ever saw him. Because he wailed on him so much and it about traumatized Mxyzptlk. And then went toe to toe with Monarch and ripped his suit up and destroyed all of Earth 51, which sent him hurtling into time. It essentially sent him hurtling into the time stream, and he was brought into the future. He's back to being Superboy Prime again. He wound up in the 31st century with Legion of Superheroes time, and they ended up having to get. It took Superman, the Legion of Superheroes of 3 different Earths, and Legion of Superheroes of 3 different Earths, and Kid Flash, the resurrected Kid Flash, and the resurrected Superboy, Connor Kent, to beat him. And in the end, it wound up being a fight on 2 fronts because you had Superman, you had the Legion versus Superboy, and the Legion of Supervillains, and the Fatal 5 teaming up. And you had Superman over fighting the Time Trapper, and it reveals that the Time Trapper is none other than, spoiler alert, Superboy Prime. Yes, it turns out he has survived all these years, and he is at the end of time, and he's the Time Trapper. And of course, it goes through this whole thing, and then way later on, Blackest Night, he winds up coming back and winds up laying waste to a bunch of Black Lanterns that somehow made it to his Earth. And of course, he lays waste to the offices of DC Comics, which was a fun moment. And then, as a matter of fact, the very last Teen Titans story before the New 52 involved Superboy Prime and his Legion, his Titans, and also an army of Superboy clones that he created. And to tell you the truth, with that story, I'm still lost. So it ended with him getting put into the Source Wall by Prime and Wonder Girl. It ended with him getting put in the Source Wall by Connor and Wonder Girl. That's how Superboy Prime's reign of terror ended, with him getting put into the Source Wall. That was the last time you ever saw him before the New 52 started. And it just shows you just how powerful he is. The fact that he just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. Matter of fact, that Titan story claimed like that his world and his girlfriend were destroyed. Again. And that's why he wreaked revenge on that Earth. Back on New Earth again. Is because he blamed the Titans for his world supposedly getting destroyed, though I don't know how. They never explained that. It's like they just heard the story so New 52 could start. But still, the fact that he can traverse dimensions and he traverse realities and different Earths and just has created so much havoc and just unbelievable things that he's done. Like destroy multiple Earths and the Source Wall and everything. It just shows you how powerful a character he is. And that's why he made on this list. Just how powerful a version of Superman that he truly is. And number 8 on the number 8 moment is any time that Superman has gotten hold of a lantern ring. And I don't just mean green either. I mean, there's been several occasions in the comics where he's overpowered the will of another person to get their ring. Case in point, the Armageddon 2001 storyline, which shows him becoming president. Guy Gardner gets all up in his face, and essentially what he does is he overpowers the will. I mean, you can't remove a ring from the hand of a lantern unless he's dead. Or at least then you couldn't. But he essentially overpowered Guy Gardner's will and removed the ring from his hand, put on his own hand, just through force of will. That's how powerful he is. And then there's been other stories where he's become Green Lantern on several occasions. And then he's become the Green Lantern on several occasions, like Last Son of Earth, and just several occasions he's become a Green Lantern, and I mean just several times. And matter of fact, just recently, the most recent example of him getting hold of a lantern ring is in a recent issue of Injustice: Gods Among Us, Year 2, in which he becomes, and you know he's kind of stepped over the line and by then anyway. By Year 2, he's really gone away from what he originally was doing, and he's gone way over the line. But he becomes a Yellow Lantern, a Sinestro Corps member, essentially. He becomes a member of the Sinestro Corps. He gets a yellow ring, and I think that what's more dangerous than Superman with his morals gone askew? A Superman with his morals gone askew, with nothing to lose, and a Yellow Lantern ring. I mean, that's a very bad day right there. Very bad day. And back to Prime for a second. He's on several occasions he on at least one occasion has had a black ring on his hand. He had a black ring on his hand. He put it on his hand and wound up exhibiting every emotion in the spectrum, but specifically powerful was anger, rage. And with that rage that he destroyed about everything in his basement, and the Black Lantern versions of Alex Luthor and all the other ones, and a lot of other characters that he killed. And it just made him, in his hands, a ring's especially dangerous. Also, the fact that Superman became, there were two, and during Blackest Night, there were two Black Lantern Supermen. One was the Earth 2 Superman come back from the dead, and the other one was the regular universe's Superman, which I thought was a pretty nice touch. And also within a couple of issues of that happening, at the end of it, he ends up becoming a White Lantern temporarily. Thanks to the entity, he becomes a White Lantern. And I thought that was awesome to see too, even though he never really used the ring particularly. It's just so awesome the fact that there's a White Lantern Superman. And just, that kind of power being in his hands, good gracious. One of the most powerful, and again, one of the most powerful moments that he is one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse. And that's just awesome. I mean, and that and the suit looked awesome too. I mean, it was just cool to see that. And that's why that's on my list. I mean, just Superman with a lantern ring can be either very dangerous or a very good thing. But either way, it makes him very powerful. And number 7 on my list is Superman with the power of Shazam. And the particular reference I'm drawing that from is Action Comics number 768. This one I just read about just today. And in which he gets the power of Shazam just temporarily to help out Billy Batson with a situation. And I'm going to say it, just think about the idea of Superman with that kind of power in his hands. Dangerous or very helpful, I gotta say. I mean, imagine that power in the hands of somebody like Ultraman or the Injustice Superman. You're going to have a bad day. It's going to be a bad time, I tell you. I mean, that kind of mystical, magical power is his hand. I mean, just something to think about. Is just how terrible it could be and just how awesome it could be at the same time. I mean, he kind of had it in Mortal Kombat vs. DC, in which the power of Shazam mixed with ancient Kryptonian magic made him a new suit. And ended up making him a new costume that looks kind of like his classic costume, with a few tweaks here and there, like a bracelet here, bracelet there, a different looking belt, but still same looking Superman. It actually makes him immune to magic. It protects him against magic. You imagine a Superman with the power of Shazam that is immune to magic. That thanks to the power of Shazam is immune to magic. And you're going, and one's like Black Adam. That's going to be that's going to be really bad for them. Definitely. I mean, it's just awesome to think about the possibilities. And number 5 on the list is something that I only found out about a few months ago that actually happened in the comic JLA 7 Caskets from back in 2000. Oh wait, I skipped one. My bad. I skipped one. Number 6 on my list is I'll get the 7 casket. I'll get number 5 in a second. Number 6 on my list is Superman with the power cosmic. This actually, I saw pictures of this long ago, about a year ago. I thought it was fake, but come to find out, it's from a comic called one of the last comic book, one of the last DC Marvel crossovers before they really started getting sore at each other. Superman Fantastic Four, and in that one, he gets imbued by Galactus with the power cosmic, and brainwashed into becoming his new herald. That's a scary thought. Superman being, and say it takes place in the same timeline as DC versus Marvel, but the thought of Superman with a power cosmic being influenced by Galactus, that is a scary thought. I mean, he looked like a silver Superman. I mean, he looks almost like he did in Superman 1,000,000, but he just looked more like his normal self, but with no cape. He's like a Silver Surfer cross. Like Silver Surfer crossed with Superman. And the fact, I mean, that's just a very scary thought. Is the fact that he was is that the last son of Krypton of a doomed race was now going to go doom other races to the same to destruction at the hands of Galactus. I mean, that's just a scary thought all around. I mean, he looks cool, but he's just so powerful. I don't even know the measure of his power in that comic, but power cosmic, no match. No match except for Galactus, probably, because he ends up stripping him of it later on in the book. But still, it's just an awesome visual, and it's an awesome thing to think about. And number 5 on the list, as I jumped the gun before, is one I didn't find out about till earlier this year. It's from the book. It's from the story JLA 7 Caskets back in year 2000. It's Superman imbued with the power of Cthulhu. Oh my goodness! Oh gracious! I mean, I haven't read the story, but just hearing that makes me want to go find a copy of it. I mean, he looks. I'm gonna say he looks almost horrifying. I mean, I think the entire JLA is given powers from different Lovecraftian creatures or something along those lines. But all I remember is that Superman is endowed with the power of Cthulhu. And you know how if anybody out there knows anything about Cthulhu, you know how powerful he is. He is just like and one of the old ones in Lovecraftian mythology and the Lovecraftian mythos. I mean, he's like one of the strongest of those beings, if not the strongest. And you imagine that kind of power being given to somebody that is already one of the most powerful beings in the universe. And imagine if Superman was malevolent. Talk about 3,000 years of darkness. Good gracious. Nobody could match him. You might as well just give up. And I mean, it's a bad day. It'll be a bad day. You run with that version of Superman. I don't know what happens in the story. I'm going to have to read it. I might have to do a review about it on here. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that in the future. And number 4 on my list is one that happened in JLA Avengers number 4 as one of my favorite visuals of Superman ever. And that is Superman with Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor. I mean, imagine it, and y'all definitely seen this cover. I know you have, of Superman standing there with his tattered costume, with Captain America's shield in one hand and Mjolnir in the other one. That is just one of the best visuals. I mean, I've got at least 2 copies of that comic, and probably several copies of that picture. I mean, I would love to see that on a T-shirt. I really would. And it's just, and in fact, it happens in the book. It ain't just the cover. It happens in the book. He picks up the hammer of Thor and wields it, and wields the power of it to defeat Kronos, who is merged with Galactus, I think. Later on in the book, by the end of it, he can't pick it up again, because they said in event of emergency, if it's needed, someone can lift it, even if he not proved worthy. And in the book, he can't lift it. I guess they claim he ain't worthy. When we all know Superman could probably be good and well worthy of wielding the power of Thor, even not in an emergency situation. But still, the moment where he wielded the hammer of Thor, the Mjolnir, that was just a moment. That was just an awesome moment when he became the most powerful. And once again, he became the most powerful being in 2 universes. The first being the one where he had the power cosmic. This one, again, with the power of a Norse god. Whew. That's I mean, imagine Superman was a Norse god. I mean, that would be awesome thought. That would be an awesome what if in a comic, sure enough. But for now, that's about the closest you can get right there. And number 3 on the list is one that's kind of an obscure reference, but found out about this about a year or so ago. It's from Superman Annual number 10, and from 1984, year my wife was born. It is the story, The Sword of Superman. And I forgot about the origins of the sword, but it was like his super powerful weapon. It became this super powerful weapon. I think it was from like fragments of a planet or something. I can't remember now. I had to go back and read it. But it's this sword that has the Superman insignia on it, and it makes its way to Superman. And Superman picks it up. He becomes, in that moment, the most powerful being in the universe. Again, he becomes the most powerful being in the universe. He gets all this power, all this knowledge in his. The whole time he's talking about all the power, all the knowledge coursing through me. And then he says these words, "I don't want it." And I think he just either destroys the sword, or the sword shatters one, or he just casts it away. But basically, he don't want that power. And this was like before Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is like Earth 1 Superman, I think. Yeah, it was Earth 1 Superman. And he didn't want that power. He had all the power in the universe in that one sword, in the multiverse. In that one sword, he didn't want it. He didn't want that kind of power. He don't want, because that's not who Superman is. He doesn't want to be a god. Because he's not a god. And he don't want to be. And it just shows you that he has all the power in the universe at his fingertips. He don't want it. He don't want to put himself above anybody else. He just sees himself as like everybody else. He's not, really. He just wants to be like everybody else. He just sees himself like anybody, like any other person. He just has special gifts. But he don't want that kind of power, and I think he just gets rid of the sword. But still, the fact that he has all that power. I mean, it's just an awesome thought. I mean, just all that power in his hands, but he don't want it. Even though he essentially becomes a god, he don't want to be a god. And he just rejects it and throws it away. And that just shows you what kind of person Superman is. And that is a good one. And he's not going to let all that power, because you know the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and he just don't want that. He don't want power. He wants to help. And that's what makes Superman such a good character. Because he wants to be a hero, he wants to help people. And and to me, that's his biggest superpower is his heart, because he just wants to help people. But still, that what made him even powerful. But that sword, with all that power, he was the most powerful character in the multiverse at that point. There won't no doubt about it. And number 2 on my list is one from the DC 1 Million event from back in the late 90s, Superman Prime. And this is the first time there was a Superman Prime in comics. And it was the whole story about basically from the year 853,500 and something. It was basically for 853rd century. His basically the counterparts of the Justice League, I think it was the Justice Legion, including Superman's descendant Cal Kent come back in time. There was some big event called. Some kind of big event happened, and they basically he is told the story of Superman is told the story about his descendants and what's going to happen with his life and everything like that, and he essentially they reveal his future self, and he has basically become this golden being of energy. He is nothing but power. And basically, what he does is he passes down his power to generation after generation of his descendants. And it's just, that is one of the most powerful iterations of Superman there's ever been in the comics, is Superman Prime. I mean, he could probably be anyone on any version I've told you about on this list, bar none. He can. I mean, just how powerful he is. I mean, the fact he keeps passing down his power to generations after that, all the way up to Cal Kent. I mean, it's just awesome to think about how powerful he is. And he makes an appearance in All-Star Superman, which is one of my favorite books. He makes an appearance there too. I mean, he's still the golden person that he is. He's still the same solid gold being. And like I say, he's just more powerful than any other version of Superman, probably except for the one that's number 1 on this list. And I'll get to that in a minute, but he's just probably right up there with him, to tell you the truth. And that finally brings me to number 1 on this list, and which would probably be the most powerful versions of Superman that have ever been known in comics, and that is the All-Star Superman, which can also be interpreted as the pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths version of Superman. And that would be the version of Superman that can basically move planets and fly through time and destroy the Earth by ramming into it. That one. But more of a modern day reiteration of him, essentially, is the All-Star Superman. And he y'all know the whole thing with All-Star. All-Star is essentially the universe that went on after Crisis on Infinite Earths. That wasn't the John Byrne revamp of 1986. This is the Earth 1 that is still going on even after Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, Supergirl is still dead and all that and everything. But that whole story ends up with Superman getting overly charged, but gets supercharged by the sun, and he starts exhibiting new powers. Particularly, his strength is increased. The fact he's lifting 300 quintillion tons, and his comment was he feels like he could lift more. Is that incredible or what? The fact that they have the heaviest apparatus that they have. And he still has the force of 300 quintillion tons, and he still feels like he could lift more. At that point, his strength has no limits. And also the fact that during the fight in the comics, they kind of omitted this from the movie adaptation, but in the comics, he exhibits some of the same energy powers that Superman exhibited during the 1997 man of energy thing where he's just basically a being of pure energy, he starts having these same powers again. But the thing is, he never changes. He has these same powers on top of being able to extend his bioelectric field like a net, like a safety net. And there's at least one other time other than issue 1 in which he uses the energy powers, and that's against Bizarro. And to me, that's just so much power, and yet he still doesn't let it corrupt him. He still doesn't become corrupted. But also the fact in that book he's dying also from the overexposure to the sun because his molecular structure is so overcharged that his red blood cells start dying and bursting, and he's essentially starts dying of that. But the thing is, he ain't really dying. He's turning into a being of pure energy. He flies to the sun to fix it, but the whole time he's converting into energy. And he's essentially, you might as well say he's essentially becoming Superman Prime, the gold one from Superman 1 Million. He's essentially turning into being a pure energy, and I'm guessing that the gold plating of Superman 1 Million and Superman Prime is the reason why he's like that, is because he's containing the being of energy that he has become. So essentially, you might as well say Prime and All-Star and Pre-Crisis are all the same Superman. And I say they're all the same Superman, and that, or particularly All-Star and Prime, and that he turns into Prime. Because Prime is in the book. He comes back through a time portal. He's in the book. That shows you that he meets a future version of himself, and that he still keeps going on living. And of course, they also revealed that he was the mystery Superman of year 4500 also. Still, the fact that he's immortal like that, and that he's still living on and on as Prime. I mean, that shows you just how powerful Superman is, and how powerful he can be, and how. And in another occasion, he is the most powerful. He was the most powerful being in the entire multiverse. And I know nowadays with the new 52 and everything, they've really powered him down and everything. To me, that's just a way of disrespecting him, because they just basically sound so jaded against Superman, and the fact that every time he turn around, they got to have an issue of him where he ain't acting Superman-like, and he's getting kicked in the dirt, and they boost up Batman and all that stuff. These are just a few examples in which if Superman's respected right, is in the hands of good writers that ain't been basically given orders to make Superman look bad, Superman is and always will be the most powerful character there is. And no matter how many challenges you put before him, he's going to prevail. And he'll find a way to prevail either through superpowers, supermind, or super hard. He'll find a way to prevail, and even all these versions that I've just told you about of how he's the most powerful character and powerful being in the multiverse, in a way he still kind of is, and that it ain't just his physical powers or his mental powers. It's right here. Is that he has the heart of a hero, that even if he didn't have an intellect, even if he didn't have the intellect or his powers went out, he still would find a way to be Superman somehow. I mean, look at the Crisis of the Crimson Kryptonite storyline. He still found a way to be Superman. Without his powers, he went out there with a utility belt or went with a power suit out there. Even power, he still tried to find a way to be him. He tried to be Superman. And to me, that's what makes him still one of the most powerful, if not one of the most powerful beings in the DC multiverse. But what do y'all think? Do y'all agree with this list? Did I miss a moment? Did I miss a moment in which he was the most powerful being in the multiverse? Let me know. As always, drop me a comment drop me a comment in the comment box below. I would love to hear what y'all have to say on this subject. And that's all for this week's edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. And as always, if you've got a comment about the show whatsoever, drop me a comment in the comment box. Like, subscribe, tell, and share with all your friends. And if you have any ideas about any y'all have any topics or show ideas, and y'all want and things you want to hear me rant or discuss on the show, drop me a comment in the comment box. I'm always open to always looking for fresh new things to talk about on here, discuss on here, rant about. Drop me a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear your ideas. And you never know when they may be made into an episode of Mr. J's Geek Corner. So drop me a comment and drop me ideas in the comment box. I would love to hear from you and love to hear your ideas. And I'll see y'all next time.